Have you ever wondered what it's like to live literally steps from downtown San Mateo and Central Park? I'm gonna give you a sense for what the lifestyle is like living here, and then I'm gonna walk you over to Central Park. We're also gonna take a look at this awesome 3-bedroom home that my clients recently closed on in a super competitive situation with multiple offers. So I'll share some tips with you of things that I've learned on how you can best position yourself to win when it's very competitive. So let's pop in and take a look. This is a Spanish style home. I just love that about the Hayward Park neighborhood because you have a variety of different architecture types. And you can kind of see that's noted by the Spanish tiles up here. We have a really cool front door. You have some Spanish style steps here. Let's go inside, take a look, and stick with me every Monday at 5 p.m. That's when we're dropping our newest videos. When we kind of think about floor plans, this home has a little bit more of a traditional floor plan compared to some that may be a really open concept. But I love this setup that we have here. So you've got this really large formal room here, plantation shutters. We have recessed lighting up here, which is not original, of course. We have some really small cans. You get a ton of natural light that comes in, and you even have this really cool fireplace. Love the tile that's going on here, and we have it down here too. And there's even some good trim. So a lot of detail work that you're just not gonna see on a lot of houses. We have a beautiful piece of marble up here. It's just a good feel. Let me show you over here, the dining area, and then how it flows to the kitchen and why I love this house so much and wanted to share it with you. We've got a 6-person table here. Can you see the neighbors' houses in Hayward Park? Yes, but you're gonna pretty much see neighbors' houses anywhere unless you're in Burlingame or way up in the hills somewhere with views and all that. But it's certainly pretty fine from my perspective. Really thoughtfully designed. I love how it all kind of came together. I want to point out here, this system here where you kind of have a button where you can kind of turn them on and off, and then a dimmer here. This is called Lutron. There's a couple different levels here. I believe this is a Lutron Caseta system. And let me turn that back on. And that means you can kind of control it from an app. And if you have, depending on your phone, like iOS or Android, then you could say like, Siri, turn all the lights on in this room or that room. And we have it at our house, and I absolutely love it. And you can do this though, you don't have to do it necessarily when the home is brand new. You can retrofit any house with this type of system, and then they can connect on Wi-Fi. And in the kitchen, this is really good flow. You know, sometimes people who want open concept, they might not have a wall here, but that's not for everyone, right? So I feel like you actually have 2 openings to get to the main living area. You've got the one that we just came through here, and then we've got another one here, which leads to a downstairs area, which you're gonna absolutely love. And then it goes up to the bedrooms. And we have this eat-in spot, which is nice. Like if it's just, you wanna sit here and relax, that's fine. I mean, some people might like having a breakfast bar where you can sit at. Obviously this home doesn't have that, but again, it's totally not a big deal. We have some really high quality cabinetry here. If you just saw my other video for a $12 million house, you know, the cabinetry on that was like a little bit over the top, and you could say extra, like was like solid wood all the way through, but that was about sounded like a $750,000 to $1 million kitchen. This is for a lot of other folks, totally normal. I like that you've got some built-ins here for a little bit of a pantry. And then this is what's called a counter depth fridge. This is a Sub-Zero. This fridge probably costs $11,000 or $12,000. So these are pretty expensive. We actually have a Sub-Zero fridge at one house, and at another rental property we have GE Pro Line. Having lived in both houses, I'm not sure if the cucumbers last any longer in a fridge that costs 5 times as much, but they are really well made. And on a serious note, because they're counter depth is typically 24 inches. So from here to the back, really all flush mounted, it looks super clean. And you have all the fan and equipment is just kind of up here. This looks to me like super new. You have to clean these every once in a while, and there's a little filter up there that you replace that filters the water for the ice maker. But anyways, that's kind of what you're paying the big bucks for. Not just the Sub-Zero brand, but for it to be 24 inches deep. Whereas most other fridges, they'll come out sometimes 30 to 36 inches. And on a smaller kitchen, like to me, that's valuable real estate, or you spend so much time in here. We've got a Viking dishwasher, a Viking 6-burner stove with a griddle. I like that, having the griddle, because there's just so much more you can do there. Again, we've got a built-in microwave, and we have a skylight up here letting in a lot of really natural light, a good vibe. We've got a little TV in here. Hey, maybe it's got a little USB behind it. This is neat. Maybe I'd connect a little Apple TV if you're streaming, or Chromecast, or Fire. And then you've got a little console here for controlling all the HVAC. Let's go take a look at the bedrooms, and then I'm gonna save this super sweet. This is like my favorite part of the house, which is downstairs. So let's go up here and take a look. But while we're heading up here, I want to share with you guys, okay, what does it take if you're thinking about buying a home in a really competitive market like is kind of what we have here? If we kind of step back, if you're thinking about buying in Hayward Park, for example, or in San Mateo, the median home price in San Mateo at the end of last year was $2,050,000. In 2020, the median home price was about $1,650,000. So we're up about 24% in median home price in the city of San Mateo in like literally 4 years. Hillsborough is 9%, for example. So San Mateo's had a lot of appreciation in the last few years. Even if you go back 20 years, the median home price in 2004 was $750,000. It's very expensive to buy a home in San Mateo. And then if you think about Hayward Park in particular, there were 16 single family homes that sold last year in this whole neighborhood. And this neighborhood is bordered by being east of El Camino, south of downtown San Mateo, east of Caltrain, and then north of the 92 freeway. And there's kind of a Safeway in kind of the southwest part of the neighborhood. And then when you kind of think about that, there's also condos in the neighborhood too. And we had about 24 condo sales in Hayward Park in the last year. So if this is a neighborhood you're looking at, or just in general and you're watching this, you're like, hey, I like this house, but Hayward Park's not where I want to be. You want to kind of think about like, what do you need to do to set yourself apart in a multiple offer situation? Going to the open house and making a positive impression with the listing agent. Say, hey, my agent is so-and-so at such and such company at Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker or Compass. I just want to introduce myself. It's one tip. Be able to show as much proof of funds as possible is another tip in the process, because when these homes can sell for way over the asking price, as did this house. In general, for any house, if you have, like, say you want to put 20% down, but you have the ability to put 40% down, then you want to show your additional proof of funds, because if there's a gap in the appraisal between where it appraises at and what the purchase price is, then the buyer needs to be able to put more cash in the transaction, which never is a pleasant feeling. But the listing agent and the seller, they want to make sure the buyer's not in an uncomfortable position from that perspective. I also recommend, if you have the ability to do a faster close, some transactions I've been doing recently, we've been closing with financing in as fast as 15 days, which is crazy, but we'll see many transactions close in 21 to 30 days. But the faster the seller can get their money, the more attractive the offer can be. And then contingencies, what type of contingencies you have, that's something you'll want to talk about with your agent. You could have a financing contingency, you could have a property condition contingency. You might choose to waive contingencies if you felt comfortable with doing that. So there's all different ways that you can structure the transaction to make the offer attractive to the seller. We could talk all about negotiation, because I absolutely love that, but we'll continue with the tour here. We've got this bedroom over here, and I love these blinds here, kind of this nice warm wood here on the slats. We've got a nice light fixture. We have a double bed. Again, not a huge room, but totally fine. We've got some nice hardware on the doors. And then these are some nice solid doors with a good closet. So again, a little squeakiness in the floor, but that's what you get with an older house. The way you can solve for that is if you pull up all the flooring and then you hammer the subfloor down to the joists underneath. But these are beautiful floors, so it wouldn't make sense to do that unless you wanted something different. Okay, over here, this is the largest bedroom. You've got this whole green screen in the backyard, which we'll pop over and take a look in a couple minutes, but that's kind of what makes this setting so magical, is that green screen in the backyard. So this is a king size bed, and again, a lot of privacy here. All right, and then over here, we've got the third bedroom, which right now has a couple twin beds in it. Just like the other back bedroom, really private, looking out into the trellis back here. And even though the street that we're on is a little bit busier of a street compared to maybe a quieter side street, when we're back here, it's super quiet. You can't really hear anything. And that's kind of the nice thing wherever you live. If you've got some good insulation in the house and some good dual pane windows, you're probably going to be reducing the sound level a lot. I remember when we were doing our house project, we actually engaged an acoustic engineer who came out to our house, and they put a microphone there for about 24 hours to hear how much noise was being created outside our house. It makes sense to do that not just for 2 hours, but for 24 hours. And then they were able to say, okay, if you really want to solve for it, because what we didn't want to do was buy expensive windows, buy expensive insulation, then we move in and we spend all this money and it wasn't quiet. So they recommended a certain STC rating for the windows based on how much noise we were hearing outside. They recommended in one part that we do a double wall near the noisier part, and we ended up doing 2 walls with like an inch in between behind our bed and on the other side. So anyways, there's things that you can do to address noise if that's a concern for you. You can get sheetrock that more has like some acoustic sound deadening. You can get insulation that has more sound deadening properties. Sometimes you'll see people who do home theaters and then they go crazy with this kind of thing. So let's continue heading downstairs. Just going back to kind of the competitive nature of the market here, I always recommend to my buyers, for anyone really, as soon as the property comes on the market, you kind of want to go see it. So if it comes on the market on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, do not wait until the weekend. Try to go see the house with your agent same day or the next day. If it comes on the market on a Thursday or Friday, I still recommend go see the house then. And then, because that way your agent can do a couple things. They can go see the house in advance during business hours on Thursday or Friday, so they're familiar with it. So if you call them on Saturday afternoon, you're like, hey, I just saw it, then it's kind of nice. And then the agent can also request the disclosure package for you if you want. So you can kind of start reviewing the history of the house. In my view, that's very important. It's material because that's going to dictate, number one, do you want to buy the house? And then number two, how much do you want to spend? And the fewer issues or concerns that are in the disclosure package, that might give you a little bit more confidence. So sometimes I'll see disclosure packages that are not as thorough and it says maybe like cracks in the foundation. Okay, well, that's not that helpful, right? We want to know how many cracks were there. Let's see photos of them. Were they vertical? Were they lateral? What is the width of them? Are they 2 inches wide or are they hairline cracks that probably haven't settled in a long time? So this is all important material information that you kind of want to know in advance, I think, before you can see the house. Otherwise, you could do what most buyers do, which is they go see the house Saturday or Sunday, then they call their agent. Hey, I just saw this amazing home. Agent goes see the house on Monday morning. And if they're up in Tahoe, like, you're not upsetting your agent, but they're out doing their thing. And then, they go see it on Monday and then offers are due Wednesday or Thursday. And then many buyers complain, oh my God, the Bay Area housing market is so stressful. Well, you can kind of solve for that by getting in a little bit earlier. If you do a private showing before the weekend and then go back again on the weekend, that's, I think, a smarter way to be efficient with your time. Okay, so for this room here, this is one of my favorite things about this house. You can see the sellers really went out of their way to add some nice design elements. I'm a huge fan of all the walnut that you see around here. This is not inexpensive. Got some walnut in our house and I just absolutely love it here. Basically, it's a walnut veneer that goes over the top of the cabinets itself. It's not like solid walnut wood. Otherwise, these things would cost like $1,000 each, or I'm probably exaggerating, but they'd be pretty pricey. But this is real walnut here. I just kind of love it. Actually, there's, let me show you this here. This is the shelf. So you can see there's the very thin walnut on top, and then there's several layers of compressed wood underneath that. You can see like the different layers here. If this was a hardwood floor, usually you don't see walnut as much, but if this was like a European oak, then this would be maybe a little bit thicker, and then they could sand this a few times over the length of the floor. Now, like a really traditional house, like my parents' house, they have a solid plank floor from their house, it's over 100 years old in Burlingame, and that's thicker. But usually there'll be like nails in there, and it's like less clean. So anyways, you can see the floors here. This is solid plank, right? This is not an engineered product. So this is actually all one piece of wood here, this lip. I think it's called a bullnose edge. And this is not inexpensive to do that back then. All right, so let me show you over here. We've got a downstairs bathroom. So this is the second bath. Home does not have a primary bath. So walk in here and the toilet automatically opened because it's a Toto. It's got a motion sensor in there. So all ready to go if I need it. But it's, on a serious note, it's really nice to have this downstairs space because it's so flexible. There's so many different ways that one can use that space. And again, the walnut theme kind of carries in with all the cabinetry here. You've got a nice, simple single vanity kind of floating on top here, and then a lot more space down here, and then a beautiful view of the yard. All right, let's go out there and take a look at this killer yard. This yard here, I mean, I'm always hesitant to rate or grade things and all that, but for this lot size, I gotta give this yard an A. Okay, this is so stellar. You've got a trellis up here with some nice string lights. I mean, imagine sitting out here in the evening, just kind of relaxing. We've got some built-in Bose speaker. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could add heat lamps out here, but again, not a big deal. Weather's awesome, generally year round, but yeah, you could add some heat lamps. And this is what I'm talking about over here with this green screen. If you just kind of look all around the yard, you're not really seeing other houses, and you can see a little bit filter, like you can see the neighbor's garage here. We can see another neighbor's garage over there. And then like kind of off to the right, you can see a beautiful redwood tree and then the house over there. But you can see this here goes up probably 20, 25 feet. You have some utility cables, and we've got the built-in barbecue, and then a separate sitting area all the way over here, which I absolutely love. I mean, again, for this lot size, this is phenomenal. You're really maxing out the space. All right, let's go over here. And this custom fire pit made out of concrete. I mean, this is not just, a lot of times people have fire pits in their backyard that are just basic and you just kind of pop it in here, but like this is actually built in. They ran a natural gas line out to the fire pit, and then they kind of continued the theme here with the concrete. I have no idea what this would cost, but this looks involved and expensive and durable and versatile. So that's pretty neat. And then you have the beautiful redwood fence that kind of goes all the way in the back. And then you can kind of see, if you look down, all the different pathway that kind of goes around. I mean, this is not an inexpensive home from a landscaping perspective. I've seen the bill before to have quality. And for a home like this, it's not like you can just have someone come out and do mow and blow, right? You want someone who understands how to prune these plants here, how to maintain the palm over there. Obviously the redwood tree would be the neighbor's responsibility, but I'd want someone with a horticulture background maintaining this. So if you might be watching, I'll say, oh my God, it's beautiful. But to landscape this home properly, you know, this could be $500–600 a month to do that. Now, I wouldn't say that's unfair or unreasonable, because, you know, there's probably 10 to 15 hours of work that's being done here on a monthly basis, and not just coming and blowing leaves. So kind of keep that in mind for whatever home you're gonna buy. All right, so the garage in here is not a massive garage, but this is very common, and I love that it's an attached garage. And if you've seen a lot of my stuff, you know I'm a massive fan of attached garages. You got the washer dryer, extra fridge. Personally, I think it'd be really cool to epoxy the floor, which you can do for any house in here. It could cost, I don't know, $2,000 or $3,000. Now I want to show you the downstairs. Well, this is really the crawl space, which I think is exciting personally. And I want to show you how clean this is. You know, you could buy a home in Foster City or Redwood Shores or in the San Mateo Highlands neighborhood where all the homes are on slab foundation, meaning like there's just a concrete slab and then the house is bolted on top of that. But a lot of the older homes, kind of west of 101, they're gonna have what's called the crawl space, because you can literally crawl around under the house. Like in my house, I can't stand underneath it like this, but there's it's maybe 36 inches, I think, where you can literally crawl under the house. But a house like this, where you can actually do this, this is called rat proofing. It's a thin layer of concrete, I'm not sure, maybe an inch or two thick. And it just, obviously it's called rat proofing for obvious reasons. But it's so clean under here. We've had massive rains over the last few months. It doesn't smell musty. I'm not seeing any water. You have the ductwork, which is in pretty good condition. You have a furnace, which is in pretty good condition, I believe, over there. And there's even some really thoughtful storage area here. So this is something to kind of think about for any home. Some homes have sump pumps like this home, but sump pumps are typically, if a lot of water comes in from rain, then that'll pump the water out to the street and evacuate it, you could say. So we're just gonna walk into Central Park right now in downtown San Mateo. Actually, this is a cool house here. This is looks like a new construction. Let's just take a quick look at this. Ground up, this lot size must be massive if I had to take a guess. Maybe 10 or 12,000 square foot lot. They're really investing quite a bit in that house. But anyways, this house here, we're only a few doors down from Central Park. And if you've never been to Central Park, it is magical. There's a Japanese tea garden. There's so many events that happen throughout the year in Central Park. There's a huge play area. It even has like a little train that kids can hop on and kind of go around in a circle. There's San Mateo on Ice, which is basically between Thanksgiving and the holidays. And they set up an ice rink in the baseball outfield that's there. And then you can go pay, I can't remember what it costs, you know, $5, $10 or $15 and go ice skating. There's music in the park that happens, I believe it's on Thursdays from May through August. Very popular. You go out there, sit with a glass of wine, picnic blanket, bring your charcuterie, whatever it is. It's just a great spot. So downtown San Mateo has 171 different restaurants, plus shops, plus stores, plus the Century 12 movie theater. There's so much going on here. If I were to say like which town on the peninsula has the most diverse food selection from all different types of cuisines, it would be in downtown San Mateo. All right, so if we just kind of keep walking in here, we've got some really nice condo buildings. I've done a couple transactions right around here. And then we just kind of keep walking. This is all of Central Park. There's obviously tons of parks throughout the whole city, but this is the main park that, because it's adjacent to downtown, is such prime real estate. So that's kind of what I was talking about. You had a couple dozen condos that sold in the last year. Most of those are within 2-3 blocks of Central Park or downtown. And then over here, is where the tea garden is. And the tea garden was actually done by the same landscape architect who did the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. And there's a very rich history between Central Park here and the Japanese people that is very fascinating. So you can do a little research. Definitely come check it out next time you're in downtown San Mateo, and I think you'd be impressed. I also love in the park, we've got these massive redwood trees here. I mean, you have residential housing basically on both sides. Check out these cool little bears over here, just kind of hanging out a little bit. So right here is the San Mateo Arboretum Society. You can kind of see they do some plant sales on the weekends from 12 to 3, and that's this whole area back in here. But just take a look, I just want you to see these hedges over here, how well manicured these are. If you're into gardening and you can appreciate this, look at all the beautiful hedges here. You know, you got some apartments or condos here, you got an office building. So we could just do a whole walking tour of Central Park and actually have another video all about downtown San Mateo, which you're welcome to check out if you're interested. That one's almost 45 minutes long and it's very comprehensive. But over here, this is the whole playground area. And you can kind of see the new structure where that'll be up. So we're actually shooting this on a Wednesday in the middle of the day. There's a ton of people out, a lot of different people using the park. I see a tent set up over there. Looks like someone with a stroller. This is the playground area over here. The park here is very popular for everyone. You can see this is the bocce ball courts. Yeah, this is nice. There's a whole picnic table over here. And then just on the other side of the playground, so if I'm kind of standing more north right now, then just to my west here, that's El Camino. And so as I was mentioning earlier, Hayward Park is just east of El Camino. So that's just right here, a few hundred feet away. And then where all of Central Park is, downtown San Mateo is just on the other side of Central Park. Basically, downtown San Mateo is like 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd. Those are kind of the main streets. And then South B Street is on the kind of eastern side of the neighborhood and downtown. So downtown San Mateo is basically just a little grid of maybe 5 or 6 blocks by 5 or 6 blocks. And that's where you're gonna get all this concentration. So many good places to eat. Cookies, I mean, every kind of food that you can imagine. I think there's something like a dozen sushi places, I think maybe around 10 different Mexican places. Anyway, check out my other video if you want to see all the foodie stuff. This here is just on the other side of the Rose Garden, and this is the Fallen Heroes Memorial, which is nice. And then there's a poem here from World War I, and just talking a little bit about who supported the memorial. So I like that. We've got a lot of, you know, as a kid kind of coming through here, I just thought this is a huge park. But as an adult coming through here, you can kind of appreciate how many different community groups participated in making Central Park what it is today. And that's something I'm very proud of. So if you're thinking about buying a home in San Mateo or the Hayward Park neighborhood, we're just thinking about making a move in San Mateo County in general, I'd love to be your Peninsula real estate resource of choice. So give me a call, shoot me a text, email, whatever it is, and I'd love to chat with you. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about downtown San Mateo, check out this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.